What's up, everyone, and welcome to Project XTalk, an Xbox podcast, episode number 208, presented by Save the Game Media. I'm your host, Kevin, and on today's episode, we're talking all about them South of Midnight previews, Spyro ignites Game Pass, and we got a huge Phil Spencer interview to break down and so much more. Before we get to all that, gotta introduce my co-host, JamPackSam. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well, man. I'm trying to navigate the world of Threads and Blue Sky. I don't know if you've been keeping up with the dichotomy of the two identical apps, but it's been something this week.
So I've noticed the exodus happening on my Twitter timeline.
Okay.
I have Threads. I'm still waiting for like a mobile phone Threads app. I don't know if that exists. I
Yeah,
haven't
it's
looked in a
been
while.
up for a while. Yeah.
Okay. I haven't looked in ages. I knew like when it first started, it didn't have that. Does Blue Sky have a mobile phone app?
I mean, I'm on iPhone. I know you're an Android
Yeah,
guy, right?
no, I'm on iPhone.
Yeah, so there's Blue Sky and there's Threads. Threads has been out for I think over a year. It originally launched as an app and then came to web. So I think it was flipped around. But yeah, so there's apps for both. Both are basically identical. Blue Sky is weird because like there's not really like a algorithm feed that gives you stuff like there is, but there isn't. Like I feel like Meta's got the whole like, hey, open your mouth. We've got food for you to eat. Here's your stuff you like. But Blue Sky is like feels strange. Either way, I'm finding my people on both. You'll find your people on both, I'm sure, if you poke around. But yeah, the downfall of Twitter has been expedited quite heavily over the past couple of weeks.
Yes, for many reasons that we will not discuss publicly on this podcast. But yeah, listen. I will get on the Blue Sky train. All right, it's on the to-do list. I got the Threads. I will download Threads. I will use it a lot more when it's on my phone. And by a lot more, I mean like, I'll actually check it as opposed to like forgetting it exists.
Join me, back me up, fight people that can't comprehend that Xbox is more than a console. I've been fighting the fight for the past hour or so while my 61 gigabyte Call of Duty update downloaded. So yeah, that's how I'm passing my time.
Listen, my tweet to that was my Xbox is more than a console. It's dead.
Oh man, yeah. The unfortunate reality sets in.
Yeah. I'm pretty bummed. Everyone listening, I came home today. My Series X would not boot up. I think it's a power supply issue. Best Buy can hopefully fix it. I'm going this weekend to sort that out. Just when games were, I was really getting into a game I'm going to talk about too. But unfortunate timing. It's probably because I was playing Dragon Age during a quarterly meeting during work this week.
Yeah, they knew that they needed to kill that. So what you're telling me is Xbox is dead, is what I'm hearing from your mouth to my ears.
Xbox is indeed dead.
All right, I just want to clarify. I just want to make sure.
Well, let's get into the actual show proper because we have lots of news to discuss. But before we get to that, some housekeeping. This is Project XTalk. We are live every Thursday on youtube.com/Save the Game Media. If it can't catch us live, we post every Friday morning on your favorite audio platform of choice. While you're over there, make sure to drop us that 5-star review. It helps us in those algorithms, gets us more discoverability. If you want to support us even further and get early audio access to Save the Game Media content and exclusive bonus content, head over to patreon.com/Save the Game Media. Choose the tier that's right for you, like our current supporters. So thank you to Fabulous Brianna, Brianna's mom, Brianna's brother, Lindsay, Nikolai at Night, Cypher, Primus, Brendan Myers, Marcus O'Neill, Lillian, David Hartwright, Dave Harp, the Xbox Expansion Pass. Thank you all for your support. We appreciate each and every one of you. If you are new to the Patreon, which I know I saw some free member sign up, all right? You can get a free trial 7 days for all our exclusive content, not just the public posts, all right? So if that's interests you, go over to Patreon. But Sam, enough about that. Let's jump into what have you been playing?
I've been playing one thing that people would probably expect, and then I've been playing something else. So the thing that people expect, Black Ops 6, I'm still hooked on it. Sorry, Dragon Age. I'm happy you're carrying the torch, but bad news is Season 1 just dropped today for Black Ops 6. So I'm going to absolutely throw $10 at the mega corporation to get the cosmetics, and I'm going to continue the grind. So I'm going to be continuing that through this weekend. But the other game that I've been playing is Tetris Forever. Now, are you familiar with Tetris Forever?
I am familiar with the trailer. I didn't even know it came out though.
Yeah, so the marketing for it has been basically non-existent.
Mm.
In true digital eclipse fashion, you absolutely have no idea when stuff comes out. The Atari 50 Celebration DLC came out like 2 weeks ago. No one talked about it
I
at
don't
all.
think so. I don't. Are you sure about that?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's crazy. So I picked up Tetris Forever on launch day because I am a huge fan of the story of Tetris. Have you seen the Tetris movie that came out on Apple last year?
No, but I know the story of Tetris, but I
Yeah.
know that's like a dramatization of it.
Yeah, it's a very huge dramatization. There were never car chases involved in the creation of Tetris,
Mm.
but the movie's very good. However, I love like just its point in history of being, at the fall of the USSR, the beginning of the fall of the USSR, and it was like they still wanted to kind of own the ownership, and it was rights going back and forth, and word of mouth versus corporate stuff. But the drama around that game is something that's always enticed me, and so Tetris Forever is like a dramatization documentary along with playable gameplay loops around what Tetris was like through the years. So it's I think it's on sale right now for $29. So like a little bit on the pricey side for a Tetris game
Mm.
comparatively to like what you might find for free out there online. But you've got interviews with the guy that made Tetris, the people that marketed Tetris. You've got like stories and clips through the years, and then playable snippets of the original build, the evolutions, when the song was introduced. Just a lot of the significant things along the way. So by no means is it like a comprehensive collection of like every Tetris ever made, but it's got I think 15 different versions of the game, and then a lot
That's
of
sweet.
the documentary style interviews with the people that made it happen. So I'm all about that as somebody who loves like No Clip and Viewport.
Hmm.
Shout out to Alex Van Aken, and the nature behind the games, how they come to be. All of that really kind of comes to life in this. So digital eclipse are the kings of that when it comes to the interactive entertainment side. So I'll be getting back to the Atari celebration later on in the winter, just because I want to spend some time with that. But the
When it
Tetris
comes
thing,
out.
yeah, of course, when it comes out 2 weeks ago. But I just love what they do. I like supporting it. So I was happy to throw $30 at that and make sure that they get a little bit of their money back on just the great work they did with it. It's really nice.
That's awesome. Tetris is a game I am horrible at, like genuinely awful at Tetris. My dad was actually really good growing up. He would play Tetris all the time, and he would get to like negative levels or something, which I didn't even know was
Ooh.
possible on the Game Boy version anyway. So I don't know if that's like a common thing or it's just like a Game Boy specific thing. But I was like, I don't even know. It's going too fast. I don't know how you're keeping up with the moving the blocks. Tetris is not a game for me. I did like Tetris Effect Connected. That
Very good
was
game.
mainly because of the music, though, like the art and a beautiful game.
Yeah, very good game. I have the same kind of nostalgia for it. When I first got my Game Boy Color, which was the first gaming thing that I ever had back in the day, one of the games that my mom got was Tetris. And so we would spend literally until 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning going back and forth where she would do the high levels, I do the low levels. So that's one of those core things that just kind of burned Tetris into my mind. And then the beginning of this generation was Tetris Effect Connected all day, every day. Like I loved that on the Xbox.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I'll report back. More to come from that, but I don't imagine it'll change much. It'll be more of the documentary style kind of approach. But I really enjoy it. And you, my friend, have a very eclectic lineup of
I do.
various things you've been playing. So lay it on me. What you been up to?
I do. Yeah, let's start with Nico Derico. I talked about this one, 3D platformer, very inspired by Donkey Kong Country and Crash Bandicoot. Started
Yes.
playing it last week. I have finished it. I had Monday off for Veterans Day, obviously, and I sat here for a good 3 to 4 hours. Just woke up in the morning. I was like, I'm just gonna bang this out, and it was very enjoyable. Really good, creative boss fights towards the end. Added a little difficulty. I'm annoyed because some of the achievements switched from like just beating the boss to beat it with certain conditions, like hit
Mm.
all the cannonballs or beat it in under 5 minutes. There was one that said beat it on normal difficulty. The game doesn't have a difficulty option, so I was like, I don't know what you want me to do here. I got that one, so I'm good with it. But it's just a really fun game, very colorful. Some definite challenge at the end. I think the achievement list is a bit too difficult for what it is, a kid's game, but not much more to say about that one. Check it out if you're interested. I do say hidden gem, especially if you're in the platform space of 2024.
Very cool.
Next, I want to chat about Bloodborne.
I tuned in for this.
I know. So, if anyone missed it, I did a 2-hour Bloodborne stream last weekend, and I did not hate my time playing Bloodborne.
Congratulations on becoming a FromSoft fan. I'm really proud of you right now.
I think everyone's jumping the gun a little bit. To be fair, when I saw my Series X and I was like, oh, I can't play Dragon Age. I was like, should I play Bloodborne? Like,
Hey.
And I was like, I think I'm a little too tilted today to play Bloodborne. I don't know if that's the best mindset to go into that type of game with, but it is certainly like those 2 hours did not feel like 2 hours. I had a lot of fun with the chat, everyone there helping me out, teaching me how to actually play the game, made it a lot better. Shout out Rick Davis teaching me, watching the stamina bar, using my rolls effectively. But yeah, we beat Father Gascoigne and the Cleric Beast, and we were into the second area or whatever, going to that machine gun dude. So pretty good time. I'm seeing what people are liking a little more. I just wish it was a little easier.
Yeah, I think that me watching the stream, it kind of reminded me why I like Bloodborne. Now, I never finished the game because this was back before I kind of evolved as a player, because we've talked about how my taste have changed. Yeah, before I got good, effectively. But I like the simplicity where like there isn't really an armor system. It's all cosmetic. Like it's kind of like I don't want to even call it like a baby's first, Souls game, but it's not as hard as some of the other ones where you've got to really think about the build and the customization and really get in there. It feels like it's a lot more approachable than some of the ones that have come out recently. So when gets a remaster or I buy a PlayStation 5 and we get around to playing it on backwards compatibility, maybe I'll give it another go. But kudos to you for pulling through, keeping your word, and doing 2 hours of Bloodborne.
Yep. And next, Bloodborne cart. All right.
Yeah. Nightmare cart. Sorry,
Nightmare cart. Yeah, Bloodborne cart is not a thing. I don't know what you're talking about.
Never existed. Totally fake.
All right, last game, and this was probably the one I want to chat about the most because we haven't actually given any opinions on this game.
Thanks for the review code, by the way, Xbox. Thank you for the review code that I have played for 10 minutes.
Dragon Age: The Veilguard. So I have put quite a bit of time into Dragon Age in the last week. I've had a lot of, time to play when I'm not doing other things, and I will say I don't love this game.
Okay.
I like it, but it has some glaring issues. I would say the first, 8 hours, pretty bad. Like boring. The character, I'm like, nothing's going on in the story to get you gripped. The characters suck. The combat feels bad. Like the first 8 hours, I'm like, man, what are they doing here? BioWare, like, what's going on? I love you. Mass Effect, the Dragon Age Inquisition. Like, I was even on board with Andromeda. I don't know what's going on because it was very linear. Like, go through hallways, like go to point, defend the point. I was like, this has some Destiny energy going on. After those 8 hours, I'm proud to say it opens up a bit more. You get fast travel locations, different maps, side quests start appearing. I still don't think the characters are very good. They're very bland. My big issue is choice and consequence really doesn't seem to matter. And that is like a major issue in RPGs for me. Like, you cannot make your team mad at you. I've seen the word disapproves once during my 15 to 20 hours of playing this game so far. And their disapproval didn't mean anything. They didn't care. They just said disapproved on the side, and then we went on with our time. At the end of chapter 6 has it's supposed to be a big decision. It's like, oh, this will alter the whole game world, like your decision here. And then what it really means is this one party member is going to leave for like one chapter, then come back and be like, we cool, bro. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I was so mad. I was like, I made this choice. Let me live with the consequences of this choice. I'm really just disappointed in the RPG elements of this. Now, I will say what's hooking me is some of the side quests really, really fun. And I'm not like narrative. There's a few that are good in there, but gameplay wise, like I did one yesterday that was like a 4 quest chain that ended with me romping up as a level 25 into a boss area where this I'm not gonna spoil what the boss was, but a level 40 dropped in, and I go, oh boy, I think I messed up coming here. Like I was scared, and I've had a few of those where I show up and I'm like, oh, you're level 42 now, 37, and I'm getting a little worried. I don't know if I should be able to hang with you. And then I do. And I'm on normal. I'm not playing on easy. I'm playing on normal difficulty. I'm hanging. And that's because once you get to level 20, and I know this is silly, once you get to level 20, the combat gets good, the gameplay opens up, and that's when the game gets fun. And it's a little, I think it's dumb that it takes that long, that many levels for the gameplay to actually feel rewarding. But it does, because then you get specializations, you get to actually start having some builds with some afflictions on them. Like I'm a warrior, but I'm going full necrotic build, which basically means like I'm poisoning them and like giving a bunch of status effects with every hit, and then you can combine with your teammates. And now I'm just decimating bosses. Like they are not standing up to me at all because I've put all my points into making this build super strong. And I've heard mages also have necrotic builds, but yeah, I'm disappointed with aspects of it. I like it. I don't love it. I would say it's a step back from Inquisition for me.
Interesting. Yeah, I need to spend more time with it. I am a little bit concerned about my involvement in it and my like connection to it, because the story for me going into it now, I'm like right after the intro, like the pieces have just been set. I have not spent a lot of time with it at all. But I talked on the show whenever started talking about the reviews and we were going through what people have been saying. I am not a BioWare fan, so like I don't really have that history to go into it with. So I'm interested how I'll react whenever I get in there and really start playing it, because I'm effectively approaching this like, I mean, I know the legacy of BioWare and I know all the stuff they've worked on, but I don't really have that prior knowledge, that kind of expectation that they need to hit. So I'll be interested to see if I'm higher on it than you are, at least in the first couple of hours in terms of like the onboarding and whatnot. But any game where you've got to say like, hey man, after the first 8 hours, really kicks up.
I feel dumb saying it, but like it's actually true in this game, because like I've been posting in the disc in multiple discords about like, oh, you know, just finished chapter 3. This is how I feel so far. Like, not really loving it. Oh, chapter 5, getting more into it. Chapter 8, like I want. That's why I wanted to come home and play it. Like I was excited. I was in the middle of a side quest that I really like. I gotta see where this is going. So it is gripping me more the more I play it, which is good. I know, and I actually thought about you while I playing. I was like, I know that there are people that are going to play this and they're going to fall off real quick because it does not grab you instantly.
Yeah, I mean, even in the first where I'm getting onboarded into the combat sections of the game, I'm like, I can already feel in the little time that I played with it so far, like you can do this faster. Like you can give me more things to do, because I feel like I've spent probably 15 minutes where I've got actual combat abilities where I'm getting in there and doing stuff. And I'm like, these are basic attacks. You can do more with me right now. Like you don't have to hold my hand like this.
What class did you choose?
Honestly, don't even remember.
No?
I'd have to go back and look. I spent time to make a character and like do a build, but I forgot what I actually was. It might have been a mage. I'm not really sure.
I hear mage is probably like that starts being fun sooner than like warrior is what I've always am. But I guess that's like the least fun for the longest time. So maybe mages open up a little more. But yeah, man, I'm liking it. I just wish there was a little more choice and consequence, as Nissa says in the chat.
Yeah. I'll be interested to see how those go as well for me, because the decisions, like I know Mass Effect, that's its thing, right? Like the decisions carried over from game to game, and I know you could import some of the stuff you had done from Inquisition, but it's not like as consequential as you would probably want it to be, albeit it's been a decade. So like, you know, or you could build out what you had chosen, right? Like you could do something where it like some of it carried over.
So here's the thing. I made my character. I went through every tab. Apparently, there is something hidden in the character creator where you get to like choose decisions and make your inquisitor, and I have no idea where that was. I spent like
I didn't see it.
I have no idea where they hid these choices. Like I had to go ask people. I was like, did I miss this? Like people are telling me this is a thing. I have no idea what you're talking about. I was just trying to make my character look good because I think characters are pretty ugly in this game. I don't like the art style. Like even getting into it, I thought it would grow on me. It hasn't grown on me.
If you listen closely, you can hear Joe screaming from the distance over the trophy room. Because I know he's loving his time with Veilguard. I see him posting about it on all of these various platforms. But I'll report back. I might get some time with it next week. You know, we'll see how the grind on COD goes. I have not hit the fall off point of that yet, where I can get back to other things. But the backlog is growing, and Veilguard's at the top. So we will see where that goes. But I'm happy to hear you're kind of having a good time.
I'm having a good time now. It only took me 8 to 10 hours.
Yeah. And, you know, small time investment.
Small time investment. That's right. Well, that's all I've been playing. So why don't we jump into the news for this week? So story number 1, South of Midnight previews are out. So Compulsion released a new documentary about their upcoming game, South of Midnight, showing off some new footage, artwork, and more. In addition, content creators and media were able to preview the game ahead of its release next year. Coming out of these reviews, we've been able to gather the following information. South of Midnight is set in the American South, where you will face off against mythic creatures from Southern folklore, each controlling a different region. The main character, Hazel, is what is called a Weaver, which is a person who uses magic threads to control the world around her. You'll traverse the world with a double jump, air dodge, grapple, glide, and more while fighting in third-person combat. The game is built on Unreal Engine 4 and targets 60 FPS on Xbox, despite the stop-motion animation style, which can be turned off for gameplay segments and used only during cutscenes. The game is reportedly, and this was actually changed since I wrote it in here, 12 hours long, and thanks to some art book release dates, it's rumored to be releasing April to May 2025. Sam, did you see these previews, and what's your current feelings on South of Midnight?
So I saw the previews. I saw the more of the hot takes, I guess, online than anything, because for a game like this, I kind of want to go in with minimal impact or like influence from other people. Like I want to go in kind of clean. And the previews seem much more positive than I don't know if I want to even necessarily say that I'd expected them to be. Excuse me. But people seem to really be enjoying this game. I like what I'm reading here around like the ability to turn off the stop motion look of the game. The 15 to 20 hours right on the money for what I want with this kind of thing. Like I don't need 40 hours of this game specifically. And then the release date, I think this is a really good example of like one of those, it almost fits that like Hellblade time frame where it's not, and I mean, you know, your mileage might have varied going in, but it's not the giant game of the year contender like thing that you really think is going to sell consoles, but it is something that's going to be a good time for the people that are already in your ecosystem on Game Pass, like having a good time with all that. So really happy about it. I think it's interesting that it's still on Unreal Engine 4. Not that that's old, but it feels like all the games that are coming out on Unreal Engine are usually on 5 at this point, or they're transitioning over to 5. But that doesn't mean that it's a bad game by any stretch of the imagination or that it suffers for that. And this is one of those ones where this is a good example of why I like the direction that Xbox is going right now, because you do have that kind of like discovery element of like, I don't know if I'd like this or not. Am I going to try it out? Yeah, sure. Let's go for it. Because it feels like something that could have the potential to grab me. So I like what I'm hearing. What are you thinking?
Yeah, so when South of Midnight, when we first started seeing the artwork reveals, and I was like, "Ooh, I'm not sure about this." What really won me over was that trailer that was shown off at the Xbox showcase, and I was like, "Oh, this looks really good, actually." Like, I'm very interested in this, and these previews have only reinforced my excitement. The fact that you can turn off the stop motion during gameplay, perfect, because I know there's going to be people that don't care. They think it's like, "Oh, this is an artistic choice," but for someone who cares more about like gameplay and the smoothness and the frames, having it at 60 consistently is a big talking point. Like that's gonna make the game feel good for most players. So I'm looking forward to turning that off and just having it during cutscenes, kind of a Bridge of Spirits thing where that dropped to 24 FPS during cutscenes when you were playing at 60 during the game. So I can see the similarities from there. That was from a team that originally did those type like movies. They made animated films. The fact that it's on Unreal Engine 4, to me, I don't really care all that much. It very much seems like, hey, we started making this game a while ago. Like this has been in development, right? 12 hours, perfect. Doesn't overstay its welcome. Like you can probably get more mileage out of it if you, depending on like if you want 100% or not. But like that is a good like action adventure style game for me. That's the perfect length. I don't know, man. Everything they're saying here, everything they're showing, it really gets me excited. I'm hoping it does hit this April, May rumor release date based on some of the art books that are coming out and have those listed as their release dates. It's not a system seller. I don't even think this is like a Game Pass seller. This is one of those games that's like, this is for the faithful Xbox audience, like a reward. Like, hey, here's hopefully what's going to be like a 80s open critic. Like, I don't think this is going to be like a game of the year contender, but I think this could be a very good, solid game and a great Game Pass edition. Great for the Xbox first party lineup.
If there's anything we've learned from fantasy, it's that I have no idea what stuff's going to be rated, and I'm not even going to try to throw a Metacritic out there. But yeah, I'm right there with you. I think back to Compulsion before, and I feel like while they're definitely not one-to-one and comparable in really any way, We Happy Few is another example of a game that it's like it wasn't really for anyone specifically, and of course that was like pre-Xbox involvement. I believe, if I remember correctly, We Happy Few came after the acquisition. You can check that in the chat if I'm wrong on that. But We Happy Few came out, and it wasn't selling consoles, it wasn't turning Game Pass subscriptions, but it was like something different that had a new, unique feel, and it didn't review incredibly well, but it was a new idea. I think this is going to play it more safe compared to We Happy Few, do something that's a little bit more traditional in terms of gameplay and what you would expect from a game that's showing off in this way. And with that, I think there's potential to get more of a fanfare. Now, like you said, I don't think that's going to be like, here, take my money, buy Series S or Series X, or get a Game Pass subscription. But I do think it's going to be a nice value add that will get people in the door that are more interested in the artistic side of the gaming industry.
Yeah, Nissa in the chat says it'll be a cool game. People will love it, but it won't move the needle. 100%. That's how I'm feeling about it, and that's okay. I think we need games like that. We need games to keep you engaged in the ecosystem, engaged in your subscription service, engaged in Game Pass. And as long as it's a good game, that's what ultimately matters. Like, if this is one of the, and we'll talk about later, but this is one of the games that ultimately like ends up going to other platforms, perfectly fine by me. Like this very much feels like a Hi-Fi Rush, a Pentiment to me. Like that type of game.
Yeah. Oh, I'll tell you right now, this is going to be way better than Pentiment for me, my personal interest, because Pentiment was not my kind of thing. But yes, I absolutely see this coming to other platforms, and more power to them, because this is something that like I always never want to hit the double negative there. I think I never want to hit the expectation too high. But like, if this is really, really good and the lore is really, really good, are we looking at the next Psychonauts? Like, what are we looking at here? If something that has like that hardcore niche following, but that has a fanfare that lasts for literally decades. I'm sure every person making a game like this would want to have that kind of reaction, but you never know what's going to take off and what's not. So the more people that can have access to it, the better. And I think that's going to be a big theme we see of Xbox over the next 5 to 10 years for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really interested to learn more about this game. I think developer direct in January, show a gameplay trailer, release date, and then launch trailer like leading up to the thing. But we don't need this like 9 more times.
Yeah, I'm going to make this joke live on the air. You know what else needs to be able to turn off the stop motion? My camera when it breaks before we go live. That was for you personally. No one else knows we have technical issues. It's funny.
Yeah. Oh, it's sad. It's sad. All right. Well, let's move on to story number 2. And I put the smaller stories in between the big stories to break them up here. This one's going to be a short one. Spyro Reignited Trilogy has come to Game Pass. So Game Pass users received a special treat this week when it was real Monday. Spyro Reignited Trilogy was coming to Xbox Game Pass and PC Game Pass on Tuesday, November 12th. Sam, are you jumping in? Are you going to join me and be Spyro?
The backlog, man. The backlog keeps growing. I will say I have this installing right now. Actually, I had to pause the installation because once again, COD takes up 61 gigs. But we're going back. I've uninstalled Starfield. I'm sorry. I did what I wanted to in it.
I did it too.
Yeah, 109 gigabytes or something. I'm like, you gotta good night, sweet prince, for a while until the next thing comes out. But I am going back to this, and I put out a post on Threads whenever the rumor mill started circulating that Spyro was coming out, and I was like, man, this is a very cozy Thanksgiving game. like this feels like something that I have nostalgia for. Like I remember playing Year of the Dragon back in the day, and it just feels like something where it's like Black Friday, you're doing the leftover Thanksgiving meal, you're warming something up in the microwave, and you're just getting ready to hang out, play some games, and you're like, you know what, Spyro. We're going to go with Spyro. So yeah, I am going to go back to this. I don't know how high on the totem pole it's going to be on my backlog. I think Veilguard's definitely going to be next for me, but glad to see it finally coming. And the trickle of the ABK games is finally starting to kind of pick up a little bit, starting with Modern Warfare 3 in July and just kind of going up from there.
It's interesting because this is like the second time now that we've had a ABK game not included in the original like drop that we read every month, like for the 2 weeks, and then it gets dropped in between that period. So they are throwing some little nuggets in between. I'm super excited for this. This is going to near the top of my list. So it goes fix my Xbox, Dragon Age, then Spyro. All right. So like I'm throwing it right up there. I've been waiting for this. The fact that it's play anywhere, the fact that it's on PC now, which I don't believe the trilogy was on PC before.
I don't believe so.
I don't think
I
don't think it
so.
was. I know a lot of those ABK like Crash Team Rumble is in. I don't know if Crash 4 is. Crash 4 might be. Crash 4 is on Steam, actually.
Spyro is on Steam. Yeah, Spyro was on Steam. It came out in 2019. Yep.
Okay, great. So I'm just happy to see these things getting into motion, getting people familiar with this backlog, because from all the rumors, it seems like Spyro 5 is coming, right? Like, or Spyro, I think it's Spyro 5, Spyro 4, whatever the next Spyro game is. I forget the numbers.
I think it's Spyro 4.
Okay. That seems to be the next toys for Bob
Crash
Project.
Is on 5.
Crash is on 5. Yes. Which
actually, do we count Team Rumble? Do we count?
No, that's not a main line, because then we, if we're going by that logic, we'd have to count like Wrath of Cortex. Like we'd be on Crash 18.
Yeah. To think I sent you a poster, you heathen.
It's right here.
How dare you not call it 5?
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Great game. Great game.
It's not in my office anymore. So enjoy.
Deserved better. All right. Just like Concord and Battleborn.
True.
Yes. All right. Well, enjoy Spyro, everyone. Let's move into probably our biggest topic for the week. Phil Spencer did a huge interview with Bloomberg this week. So Phil Spencer, head of Microsoft Gaming, sat down with Jason Schreier over at Bloomberg to chat about some very interesting topics. We're going to go one by one. I'm not going to read all of this at once because I'll be here for 10 minutes at least. We're going to tackle paragraph by paragraph. So firstly, the long rumored Xbox handheld, which many speculated was coming as early as next year, Phil Spencer states, quote, "The expectation is that we would do something," but states that while the company is working on prototypes and considering future actions in the space, such a device is years away, instead focusing more on making the Xbox app work better on existing devices. Sam Heaney writes in, says, "With official news that Xbox handheld is real, but a number of years away, is there now a far more substantial chance that PlayStation beats them to market? If Xbox release first, it'll be an even more crowded market regardless. So what do Xbox need to do to ensure it stands out from the crowd?"
So it's a really great question. I don't know if PlayStation is going to beat them to the punch in this way, because I feel like, in my opinion, and I don't, who knows what PlayStation has in R&D behind the scenes. I feel like Microsoft, being the tech company that they are and the like Windows, creator and whatnot, they're a little bit more optimized to make a handheld in this way. Now, will PlayStation beat them to the punch? Yes. And in a way, they like kind of already have with the Portal. I know that's not really like what we're talking about here in terms of something that can play games natively, but in terms of like you can play PlayStation 5 games on the go, there's been significant traction with the Portal. So they've kind of already won in that way. But at the same time, you've got cloud gaming as well and remote play on phones and backbones. So like, I mean, Xbox has already kind of been there as well. I think this is a really good move because you see what Steam is doing right now with the Steam Deck, where, yes, there is another one on the way. They've confirmed there's another one on the way, but they're just dropping another colorway this holiday season because they're like,
looks so good.
The white one looks very good. I'm very impressed with it. I'm kind of like Gary Whitta, where it's like right now he's going through like a PTSD from like all of the traumas over the past couple of months. And he's like, I'm doing retail therapy and I didn't need this right now, but $650 for a really good looking OLED Steam Deck is pretty promising. But I say all of that because they're waiting for the technology to evolve to where a consumer level, affordable, comparably to other things right now, system is going to be able to be possible. And I think that that's a really smart move by Xbox because the technology is evolving at such a speed where the thing you put out today for $600 is going to be 300 in 5 years or less. Or you could have the thing that's $600 in 5 years and it's going to be 3 times or 4 times as powerful. Like that's the evolution and the speed at which we're going here. I mean, look at the early handhelds, the PC handhelds from like 5 years ago compared to what they have today. And I mean, you've got games that are like AAA big games that are playable in handheld. And the Steam Deck is an anomaly in that. Like, I don't know how some stuff runs on that. It's very impressive. So I don't think Xbox is behind the 8 ball on this one. I think that if anything, they're waiting until they're ready to deliver something that can feel kind of like a console generation for the handheld. Like it's going to be something that's not just a fleeting, hey, you drop $400, the newest one that's 10 times better is coming out in 2 years. It's going to be something that I think is going to be able to kind of hold its own for a while and be something that, like the Series X, can play games for 8 to 10 years, let's just say, and still really hold its own.
So I think what's interesting is the new Xbox marketing campaign that came out today kind of makes me believe even if he hadn't said, "Oh yeah, we're working on a handheld," that marketing had like here's a phone, here's
Yeah.
like they want you to know like you can play Xbox everywhere. So the fact that they would make a handheld device, a portable device really does make a lot of sense. And we've talked about this like if Xbox makes a handheld, then I want them to release the OS or however they're playing the Xbox games natively for these other handhelds, which Phil Spencer's like, we're making the Xbox app work better on like things like Steam Deck, ROG Ally, Legion Go, or whatever, right? Keep improving that for sure. But my ultimate goal is like whatever you release as your handheld, please give that to other people, even if they have to pay some licensing fee to like get it for like a one-time down, like something like that. Make it available to all the users who've already bought into a handheld ecosystem and don't want that. My other option to make it stick out is make it more like a I don't want to say a PC, but more a PC, like have it be able to do Steam, have it be able to do Epic. And we've heard people talk about like, oh, are they going to do that for the next console? Like, I think a handheld would be the perfect spot to do that in. And I don't know how that would work because, like, would it have to run on Windows? Would it have to run on Linux? Or can they devise something to like boot Steam or work with Valve to, hey, when you click the Steam icon, it boots into this mode, right? Like, I don't know how all that tech would work, and maybe that's something they're trying to figure out years from now. But that is what I would want for it to stand out, for me to really take notice of it and be like, well, I have this one thing, but that looks a lot more enticing.
Yeah, I think for me, the what I would want from the handheld is the ease of the console side. Like whenever you're talking about the ROG Ally, the reason that I went with the Steam Deck is because I like the kind of compartment that Steam has made and the experience they've got with. I guess it's just technically big picture mode, but it's like a customized version
Yeah,
for
yeah,
the,
yeah.
the Steam Deck. Um, but I don't want to have to think about launchers, like I don't want to have to think about Steam versus Xbox versus all this stuff. Like I want a handheld where I can charge it up and it keeps me in the box. Like I don't want to have to think about like, oh, how do I crack this bad boy open and install Epic on it because I have free copies of every game over the
Hmm.
past 3 years available. Even though it's cool that those devices exist, like I don't want people to think that I'm hating on the Legion Go or the ROG Ally or whatever. But I do want that Xbox experience where, especially as we're getting to where, in the interview, Phil talks about Play Anywhere wanting to be kind of like the end goal of just buying an Xbox license and playing it on PC or console or cloud. I would want that to be able to say, hey, here's my entire Xbox catalog I've got over the course of the past however many years. And you can just play it on this handheld without really having to think about it. And it's not getting streamed. This is just getting installed, or maybe it's like partial cloud streaming, like they have Tech and Call of Duty that does that now for textures. So I want the kind of compartmentalization where it feels like a true Xbox handheld, like the X screen on the Xbox Series S, but with a grip on it, smaller form factor, boom, ready to go anywhere, anytime.
Yeah, and I see Tay talks in the chat saying like we're launching it next year, the same year as the Switch 2 is going to come out, would have been a very bad move. And I agree with that. Like I don't think you have enough cachet to outsell the Switch in its launch here, right? Like give yourself some breathing room.
Oh yeah, no, I think that right now we're still fighting this fight of like Xbox and PlayStation going head to head. The last thing that Xbox needs is the heat from going up perceptually, or if that's the word, against a Switch, because like you're gonna get absolutely smacked any day of the week. I mean, yeah, they're playing graphically with totally different things. Whatever the next Xbox is going to likely blow the Nintendo Switch 2 out of the water in terms of performance.
Yeah.
However, look at that game lineup. Look at that fan base. Look at that. Now we know it has backwards compatibility, which is like, yeah, it should, but it's because it's Nintendo. We're like, oh my God, it's crazy. So yeah, definitely don't compete with that. And again, take the time to make sure that you're doing research and development that nets out the same way that Valve netted out of like having this super like kind of underpowered device with the Steam Deck that can do a lot because of optimization. And I can't emphasize enough. Like it's impressive that I can play Helldivers 2 and not hate myself on something that came out in 2018, 2019, something like that. Like it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, for sure. And you've mentioned it. I think it was in Steven Totillo's interview where Phil Spencer does want to stress like the play anywhere feature, right? Like you want to be able to buy games on the cloud. You want to be able to buy games on Xbox and have them every single where. And I think until that is uniform across everything, the Xbox handheld doesn't really make sense. Like, because for sure they're going to push the cloud of that, even if it can play natively. Like, they're going to want that to be able to do everything that any other thing can do, right? So it makes a lot more sense to get the play anywhere feature sorted out. And I hope that is for more than first party, because right now, like, I feel like more games are coming third party game. Like I know Sega's been really good. Every time I boot up my Xbox PC app, I'm like, oh, like a Dragon Infinite Wells play anywhere. Oh, Metaphors play anywhere.
Death
Stranding. Death Stranding's play anywhere. Square Enix has actually had a few recent, like Visions of Mana was play anywhere, and I had no idea until I booted up. Like it's always nice to see when I boot up my Xbox app, like it's like a surprise. It's like, oh, I bought that on Xbox, but I have it here too. Like that is awesome. And I want that more and more games, more publishers, like figure that out, Xbox. I don't know how you convince everyone to buy into that because, they want the double sales on PC. But if you can find a way, even if it's for a closed off Xbox app type situation on your handheld or PC launcher, like let's do it.
Need I complain once more about Diablo 4 and Vessel of Hatred?
Listen, man, you just got to link your Battle.net account, all right, and then link your Battle.net account to your Xbox Game Pass account.
It literally doesn't work. Also, correction on myself. The Steam Deck came out in 2022, so it's not nearly as far behind, but it feels like that's been absolutely forever ago.
It's only been 2 years.
It's only been 2 years, which I'm like, how? Because it feels like I've been talking about that thing for a very long time.
Yeah. All right, well, let's move on the topic of portable gaming. Phil Spencer touched on the delayed mobile Xbox Game Store for phones, stating they're still trying to figure it out because, quote, if we build it, quote, if we build it, they will come mentality won't work in this space. So I think we thought this was launching this month. I thought Sarah Bond said something like it was supposed to launch in like July, and then they delayed it. And I thought Sarah Bond said, hey, it's going to launch in November, along with the ability to stream your own games. Where's that? All right, we're still waiting on that feature as well. I haven't forgot about that tweet.
Yep.
Now it's seemingly delayed again.
Yeah, I mean, I believe the streaming all of your stuff is definitely coming. I think he reiterated that as well. That is something they're doing. I'm gonna say this with my full chest: kill the mobile game store and save your money. No one wants that. They are downloading Candy Crush on the app that they already have. No one is asking for this. Now, I will say the Xbox app, with the consolidation where cloud gaming and the other one are like all together now, like they've made one it's Game Pass and the main Xbox app are all together now. Like that's a great move. But I mean, in the same way that few people, the hardcore of the hardcore, use things like launchers on Android, no one's going to be taking the time to install stuff from the Xbox app whenever they can get all of their games directly from somewhere else. Beyond that, looking at Epic, I mean, I can't imagine being in Xbox's shoes and looking over at Epic with their Epic launcher, thinking about the absolute boatload of money they've poured into this program every month to get free games. And literally no one is buying anything over there whenever they've got Steam. Like, no one is asking for Epic. And the only people that are using it are the ones that are like, hey, I play Fortnite. Yeah, I got all my free games here. Yeah, sure, I'll buy some stuff over here. Or the sales are really good. But like, again, as somebody with a Steam Deck and a gaming PC, why would I want to buy stuff on Epic? And it's the same thing with Xbox. Of why would I want to, like? I have the App Store. The Apple App Store is right there. I literally don't need you. A Call of Duty is over there. So unless they make some kind of like weird exclusive to the Xbox launcher thing, which I don't, that's not the direction I think they're going with that at all. I have no idea why they would even still want to do that, which to Phil's point, like if we build it, they will come. Not going to work. If you build it, it's going to sit there and rot and you're going to shut it down in 3 months. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah. And I think they know that, which is why they've delayed it for sure. Firstly, Epic Game Store. I don't mind you. I haven't bought anything in your store. I've only got the free games. I don't mind you as a launcher.
Yeah, I mean the Amazon Prime games as well, which I think a lot of those are Epic, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I downloaded GOG just because I kept getting so many free games from Amazon. I was like, I don't know if I'll ever play these, but free games. So
yeah, I mean, I'm talking shit. I got the Epic Game Store installed, and I definitely have at least 50 games on that library. Not a single one actually downloaded, but I have them because you gave them to me. So thanks.
For the Xbox Mobile Store, just integrate it into the Xbox app. What? Yeah. Like, just make the Xbox app have a store like tab. And you go there, you buy your Xbox ABK mobile games, you buy whatever console versions you're going to put on there. I don't know what, I honestly don't know what they're doing, because we've seen console games flop hard on mobile, like Death Stranding, Resident Evil. Like, none of them are moving or selling units. Nobody wants to play those games on their phone. All right. Like, it's just not something people want to do. So whatever you're going to put over there, just put it in a little tab. The people that want it, they'll go find it. All right. You don't need a whole store. You don't need a whole new icon. You don't need people making fun of you, because that's what they're going to do.
Oh, yeah. 100%. I like Silkenet's comment in the chat of, I have 334 games on Epic. I think I bought 3, which I just replied, big spender over here.
Yeah, that's more than I've ever bought.
Yeah, I bought 3 games. I do think that 2 things with that. I think that it gets dicey with Apple because of like, hey, can you sell games in your own app versus selling through us? We get a cut of that. So like, does that make Death Stranding on Xbox through the app $5 more expensive than Death Stranding through the App Store, just because of their weird fee structure? And then beyond that also, does this evolve into, hey, you can buy your games and play them anywhere, cloud, console, or PC? Is that their play? Of now, you literally have, like they say in the ad, your phone, pardon the fingerprints if you can see them, is an Xbox. And so does that then become like, you can buy and play insert game here that isn't on Game Pass on your phone and stream it from the cloud? And that's how they kind of get to play into like the mobile space. And it does become what you're saying. But then I think they've got to get kind of weird with like how they market that, and you can buy games on the go. Because I think right now, like if you redeem something on iPhone, you literally can't redeem it in the Xbox app. You've got to go through the browser. Same thing with xbox.com/play. They've kind of found those ways to circumvent it, but it could get a little weird and not as native feeling as they need to make it to actually convert those people into sales. I just don't think that's going to happen long term.
Yeah, I'm not sure, especially with all the court cases I'm trying to open up, like the Androids and Apple, and we'll see what happens. The mobile space is one I'm not familiar with. I don't spend any time there at all.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, let's go to the next section, which I will call business. Phil Spencer does not rule out future acquisitions, stating deals that add, quote, geographic diversity, including in Asia, might be worthwhile. Quote, we definitely want to be in the market, and when we can find teams of technology and capability that add to what we're trying to do in gaming as Microsoft, absolutely, we will keep our heads up. He adds, nothing is imminent, and very large deals are certainly off the table due to Activision Blizzard, but it's something they're exploring. He also adds they want to work with more teams in China. So no big acquisitions coming. I'm glad he stressed that, because now hopefully everyone will stop. Oh, they're gonna buy Sega, they're gonna buy Square, and like, nah, they're gonna buy like some AA team or an indie team if it makes sense for the business. But like, genuinely, why are people still asking for acquisitions? Do we need more studios? They're closing them. There's too many.
I think I assume the question was just asked because you always assume at this point, because after gobbling up Bethesda and all of those other related companies and Activision and all of those companies, and then the smaller people through the years, you kind of expect that there's going to be like another big thing that's on the way. And I like this approach because I can relate to it in that, like, this weekend, am I going to go out, and if I'm riding around, if I see a really cool car that I want, I'm not going to buy the car. Now, if I'm in an antique shop and I see like a GameCube kiosk from 2008 that's like $3,000, brother, I'm probably throwing that cash down and you're going to see that thing sitting behind me. So, like, I think that's the mentality that Phil has going into this, is that, like, yeah, we're not going to buy like Ubisoft, for example. However, smaller studio with a lot of promise that's like, a rounding error in the giant Microsoft grand scheme of things. If it makes sense culturally, maybe we'll throw some cash down and see where it goes. But I think they're being very cautious around all of this because right now, like, they have skated through regulations in a very, very, very careful way. And of course, administrations change and like laws shift around and whatnot over the years, but they're in a really good spot where it's kind of like you're carrying a stack of plates and you trip and then you have somehow not dropped them. Like you got ABK, you have Call of Duty on Game Pass, you are marketing it as an Xbox game. Don't mess with it. Don't break that, because you've got a good thing going right now.
Yeah. One of the interesting parts was that his stress of, we want to work with more teams in China, where we've been working with a few and we're really interested in like getting more creativity from them. I'm wondering if he means like going and finding talent and bringing the games to the platform, like what we've seen with PlayStation. They're doing that for the China Hero project. And I think the most recent example is like they're working now with MiHoYo to bring over like Genshin Impact's coming, and then we have the rumor of Zenless Zone Zero coming. Like they are trying to make more of a presence in the Chinese market, get those games over. Black Myth Wukong apparently is gonna be coming at some point.
That was a very. Did you see the quote? Did you see the quote from him?
No,
from the
I
interview?
didn't see the quote.
Yeah, I think that Steven Totillo, if I remember correctly, asked Phil directly about because he dropped the first half of the interview on Tuesday, I think, and then the other half is coming tomorrow as we record this. But he was like, "Hey, Black Myth on Xbox," and he said that, like, Phil laughed and was like, "I can't announce that." And so it's like he had like a little comment about it, but also I was laughing because anytime anybody says MiHoYo, I always think about SpongeBob whenever he says MiHoYo. So that's why I laugh whenever I hear anybody talk about that company. But no, I think there's a lot of validity in all of that, and I think that the expansion on an international level is kind of the direction that Xbox intends to go. I do think back to like 2 months ago where we were having this same conversation of like, you need to really do things in your region well, which is why you're shutting down companies like Tango that were making very cool things, but you still haven't really stuck your footing on the ground that you kind of started on. Like if you're not really killing it in the Americas, why are we trying to like dabble in other areas where that's kind of like a side quest? Like you still have the main mission to go after. So if they can do, in my opinion, second party deals and kind of build up where like Square Enix isn't owned by PlayStation, but for the longest time, they were kind of seen as like a PlayStation or Nintendo affiliated company very heavily. Like I think about Final Fantasy, I think about PlayStation. And so building up that kind of recognition, even if it's not something where you've bought them or have a contractual obligation long term to only be affiliated with them, I think that's where the value is. Because then, like, it's not illegal, it's not a monopoly. It's just like you've got a partnership, and it's benefiting the players that are on your platform, whether that's Xbox or cloud or PC.
Yeah. Sam Heaney in the chat says, "You've officially ruined MiHoYo for me."
MiHoYo. Doodle Bob coming in hot on the XTalk podcast.
Calm down. It's just a drawing. I say that all the time. I say that all the time.
That's great.
What a great episode. Well, he was also asked about the current state of the Xbox business because Xbox cut nearly 2,500 jobs this year and closed/sold some studios. Phil Spencer, however, feels good about Xbox going into 2025, saying, quote, "The Xbox business has never been more healthy. The business is performing right now, and I think that means a more healthy future for hardware and games we build. I feel pretty good about where this industry is going. To reach new players, we need to be creative and adaptive of new business models, new devices, new ways of access. We're not going to grow the market with $1,000 consoles." I feel like that last bit is a little shot at PlayStation 5 Pro, but who am I to point it out? Listen, I understand what he's saying. I think time will tell ultimately if Xbox really is this visionary that Phil Spencer and Microsoft seems to be painting themselves as, hey, this is the future of gaming, being able to play everywhere, anywhere you want to. Like, games shouldn't be exclusive anymore. Like, that remains to be seen. I'm glad that, and I don't think it wasn't in this interview. I think it was maybe in Steven Totillo's, but like he doubled down, like consoles aren't going anywhere. We're going to keep making hardware.
Yeah, and I think that's the most important thing is that, and I get it because I feel the same way. Whenever you hear about this change towards like doesn't matter where you play, your phone is your console, everything can be an Xbox, all of that, you start to get concerned of like, okay, is this them kind of setting up this whole rug pull of hey, everything can be a console, so we're not going to make one anymore. And we've heard for years that they're making the next generation hardware, but then in the back of your mind, you're like, is the next one the last one? Or are they transitioning over to the handheld fully? Or are they just doing cloud gaming and this is the end of the end? Um, I always am falling back on the fact that like you still have these statements coming out of like new hardware is coming. We are sticking with consoles. I think that reading into this statement right here, they're always talking about something new business models, new ways of play. They aren't talking about shifting ways of play or following player patterns or anything like this that sounds like it's going to be a change where something is being taken away. I think all of this is additive where they're trying to meet people where they are, no matter where they are. And so if you still want to buy the $500 to $600 console, you can do that. If you just want to buy the subscription and play on your Fire TV stick, you can do that, PC, etc. I think that's where they really have a lot of potential here. And I love the fact that he reiterates the Xbox business has never been more healthy. And like I said, I always poke around. Like I've been, in arguments with people on threads because I love the conversations I have on threads because they're genuinely thoughtful. And a lot of people are kind of throwing this around of like Xbox is dying. This is them saying the consoles are going away. I see this as like they're confident in the game pipeline. They're confident in the delivery system. They now have more money to subsidize what they are trying to do with the consoles and trying to continue to get those into people's hands that want them along with these other options of delivery. And for me, yeah, we're not in the glory days of the Xbox 360 anymore, but the whole industry has changed in a way that it's not that industry anymore. And so you can't keep playing like it is. And in terms of like console sales, you talk about Xbox being in third place behind PlayStation and Nintendo. That is not going to change without a doubt going into the next generation because more games are being played elsewhere. But the games are now the console war, effectively, in my mind, of like, yeah, Indiana Jones is not going to be the thing that's going to catapult Xbox ahead of PlayStation, but Indiana Jones sales, if they are on PlayStation and PC and Xbox strong, could put it closer to what PlayStation is doing with something like Spider-Man. Not saying it's going to go above and beyond it by any means because it's Spider-Man, but it's a different way of getting to the final goal of making more money. So I'm excited for the future. I think it's a healthy Xbox. I think this is how you help it survive after the Xbox One generation and the Xbox Series X generation that sold even fewer consoles. Like it's not the same business anymore.
It's funny because I just opened Threads and the first thing I see from 12 minutes ago is Wario64 posting a Rolling Stone article. Phil Spencer says we'll definitely do more consoles in the future and other devices. He was asked specifically about mid-gen refreshes after the PS5 Pro, and he says we think about hardware that can create unique value for our players and creators on our platform. We don't need to do incremental hardware for our own benefit. Does a new device really give you a unique experience on screen in the same way? It's less like the old days, going from the original Xbox to 360 with standard definition to high definition. It's now harder to show the benefits.
Yeah, I mean, looking at PlayStation 5 comparisons, whenever you've got all the reviews saying like, "Hey, it's pretty good," but like you got to sit close to your
You
television to see it.
squint. Yeah, you gotta
Like
squint real
I
hard.
shouldn't. If I'm spending almost $1,000 or more, depending on what you want with this kit for the PlayStation 5, I need to be able to immediately, whenever I build my new PC, I can boot up Starfield and get 240 frames a second, unlocked frame rate, like beautiful graphics. I don't get that when it comes to a mid-gen upgrade. And I think that shows a lot of the handheld movement as well from Xbox of going back to like wait until it's ready to really wow people. Because right now, if you just put a screen on a Series S and squeeze it into a little small form factor, that's not going to wow people because you can still do that same exact thing on a phone with the cloud. So wait till it's ready. And I like that direction. I think that it's a good confirmation. I like that.
Yeah, I felt pretty justified in Xbox's no mid-gen refresh and then not getting a PS5 Pro when the reviews came out for the Pro, and it was like, yeah, it's good, but like you don't need this. Like it doesn't do that much. Like it's okay. It's not. It was like sevens, and I was like, okay, that's what I expected. If everyone out there has a PS5 Pro and you're loving it, great. I'm glad. Like that's I'm glad you are. But it's good to know that like it really was what I expected it to be.
Yeah, and again, I want to reiterate that too. Like, I'm not dogging on anybody buying a PlayStation 5. I know, I think his name's CP Miller over on Threads. We talk a lot, or I see him on my threads a lot. And he's loving his PlayStation 5 Pro, and he's going back through and playing like all these older games that have gotten some kind of upgrade, through the technology that powers the PS5 Pro. And like, you do your thing, man. Like I blow money on stuff all the time that I don't really need, but that brings me joy. That's what this whole industry is about anyway. So you do you, man. Have a good time with it.
All right. Lastly, from the Phil Spencer interview, games. Xbox with Indiana Jones is launching in the spring, now has 5 confirmed former exclusives going to other platforms, with certainly more on the way. Phil Spencer states, quote, I do not see any sort of red lines in our portfolio that says thou must not, but adds, quote, it's too early to make any sort of decision on the next version of Halo. Um, so basically confirming what the internet has known for over a year now, almost a year now, right? Since February. So close to a year, where it was never just going to be those 4 games. It was always going to be more. I've said for a long time, I personally feel like there should be thou must not games like that the Gears, Halo would fall into
Yeah.
those categories. But I've also said business wise, I doubt they care what I think very much. Like this is just me. Hey, that's the Xbox identity. They're like, that's 8 million in sales guaranteed. We're porting
Right.
those over real quick. And the fact that he says too early to make a decision on the next version of Halo, I get that. Like we don't know where Xbox the industry is going to be in 5 years or whatever when the next Halo comes out. Halo Combat Evolved remake rumor that apparently is coming in a few years though. Maybe that one gets a little PS5 sprinkled over there and test the water. I don't know. These are all things. I just think it's very interesting. Like he's now confirmed that they're openly talking about like, hey, we're open to anything.
Yeah. I think that if you had asked me 5 years ago, 10 years ago, what I think about this, we were all and are all so entrenched in this whole us versus them mentality when it comes to the exclusives. Like if you brought a PlayStation fan to the inside of Sony HQ and they're talking about, hey, what's the potential benefit of bringing Spider-Man to Xbox? Because I guarantee you that scenario has been run in a spreadsheet somewhere. They're going to flip out because it's like, that's what PlayStation is. Same with like all these other games that have probably been just hypothesized just to see what the potential downside is if they were to bring it to other places. For me, the way that I look at it is that I want more Halo. And I always talk about, like, hey, I've got every collector's edition of every Halo behind me on these shelves. I'm a huge Halo fan. I love that. I want more of that. The way to grow that is to keep that fan base alive. And so if you have this small subset of people that's playing on Xbox and a bigger one on PC, but if you have so much of the console base that's being totally missed out on, just because of these arbitrary traditions of keeping something from another plastic box that effectively is the same hardware, you're passing up a potential entire generation of people that could have been falling in love with Halo. Now, of course, the old heads have kept the love alive, but you've got to wonder what would have happened if this diversity had happened earlier on. Now, I'm not saying this is something that wouldn't have totally fundamentally changed the Xbox One generation, but like I think Halo as a franchise, as an entity, would be in a stronger place had it been on the PlayStation 4. Because think of how many people had missed out on that generation because they switched over to PlayStation 4 from the 360. So you're talking about people that, maybe that PS4 is their first console. Now here we are 10 plus years later. They don't care. They don't want Halo. Like, that's a lot of people you missed out on. And so to reverse that, make Halo really, really good in Unreal Engine 5 and then keep it going everywhere. Like, I don't care who's in my lobby, if they're on PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, PC, whatever, cloud. If they're in my lobby, they're in my lobby. People are playing the game that I love, that I have the collector's editions for. I'm having a great time. Like in Helldivers 2, I don't care if you're on PC or PlayStation. You're just playing Helldivers 2. That's great. Let's have a good time. So more power to them. Let's keep them coming, because I want these franchises to live on and have the fanfare to where I can go to a Halo Championship Series in 15 years and it's packed to the house, full brim. Words were out of order in that, but like, it's a very popular event. Like, I want that to be the reality I live in.
You just know 3/5 of those players in that lobby would be free kills. All right, you're just trying to boost your KD.
I'm just saying, I want to 1v1 Joe Moran on Blood Gulch with DualSense Edge versus Xbox Elite Series 2, and we can finally put this thing to rest. I'm ready for it. Let's make it happen.
Have you ever played Halo with Joe?
Oh yeah, I played Halo with Joe. I'm just messing with you. I just like calling Joe out because it seems like the popular thing to do on the podcast that I listen to and that we kind of run with. So I just like my opportunities.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I'm interested to know, like, we got Indiana Jones coming in the spring. Do we get another announcement? I know we talked about South of Midnight earlier in the podcast as a potential thing. Does Hellblade 2? I've long said, like, that came and went like a fart in the wind. So maybe we get that poured over there, give those people, because Hellblade's a very weird situation for PlayStation, because when you search it on console, it doesn't show up. You have to go to the app to buy Hellblade, or like
Sinuous Sacrifice.
Yeah, the first one. Like, I cannot get it to show up on my PS5 console. Weird. I can only see it on the web store or on my app. So it's one of those things where it's like, are they like mad at Ninja Theory for that one? I don't know what's going on there, but no, I do think, like, it'll be interesting to see. I know Age of Mythology that's rumored to be going over.
Yeah, Age of Mythology.
Yeah, rumored to be going over as the next one. Fine, great. Like, let's get some of these games going over. Let's see what happens. Do they move the needle at all? Like, it's more data, because like, if a series goes over and it does nothing, probably don't need to focus on that for the next version, right? Like, it is one of those things.
I personally think, number one, if there is another Hellblade after this, which I personally kind of am of the mind of, like, you can probably let that one rest. Like, we're all right.
Leave it alone.
You can put a bow on that one. I think if stuff goes over and it doesn't perform really, really well, like if Hellblade 2 goes over, the next move would be, all right, you can keep making Hellblade, but it's going to be everywhere on day one. Like, why are we doing this timed exclusive thing? And I do not see at all Hellblade 2 moving the needle when it eventually comes to PlayStation, because I feel like that's an inevitable, like, port. That just seems like it makes sense to me. I don't see that one doing much of anything. Now, like Gears, Halo, yeah, those are going to absolutely kill it. Age of Mythology even. What was that?
Millions of copies.
Oh yeah, like that's immediately a day one for everything, everywhere. But Age of Mythology, I think, is another good example of one that'll do numbers with that right community. But Hellblade 2, I just don't see it really pulling that same kind of attention. It's just not going to be able to do it.
Probably not. So everyone, it's confirmed what we've all known. So do with that information what you will. But that is it for Phil Spencer's interview. Why don't we jump into our last news story? Quick one. Is there a Halo, Doom, and Gears of War Call of Duty collab coming? According to a new leak, it is. This comes from Insider Gaming, and they said they see some data miners in the Call of Duty community. No idea when these will come, but you're the Call of Duty guy, Sam. Are you excited for this?
Let me tell you, man, the day the Master Chief comes to Call of Duty, take my credit card and don't give it back. I am totally in. I have no doubts in my mind this is probably something that'll happen. And it just feels natural. Now, you see the screenshots that have been floating around out there. These are obviously fake. Do not believe these things.
Yes.
But I'm excited for the potential, because I think that it's there. I mean, when you've got literally, I think the Doom guy is also in Fortnite. I'm like 98% sure the Doom guy's in Fortnite, but I know Master Chief and Marcus Phoenix Alex and the other Gears squad is. When you've got all these guys that are already doing collabs with Epic, these other things that are also owned by Xbox seem like natural fits for Call of Duty. Like, it's not like I can rearrange my apartment however I want. Xbox can do whatever they want with their IP. So like put it in whatever you want. I'm excited. I'll buy this 100%. Don't know if I'd buy Doom Guy or Gears, but I'm totally buying Master Chief because I want to play Master Chief on Nuketown. I really want that to be a thing that I do. That sounds real fun, and I would love to maybe throw an emote in there. That sounds like a good time.
Like a battle rifle skin that like transmogs like a weapon.
That would be super cool to have some kind of like DMR marksman rifle that
be
looks.
awesome.
Oh yes, I am absolutely down for that.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Very cool.
A energy sword melee weapon, please give me that. I swear I'll buy it immediately.
You can do it for Gears too, like a Lancer type.
Very cool.
Like that'd be sweet.
That'd be sick.
Sweet. Yeah, make it happen, Call of Duty. Make it happen. Well, that is all the news we have for this week. So why don't we jump into our listener questions to round out the show? We got a few of them. First, coming from Luke Lore, friend of the show over at the Xbox Expansion Pass, says, why do we put games on our backlog or buy them knowing we won't play them for months?
For me, it's because normally they are on sale. So I'll buy a game for $8. Like I have, I think right now I have the Ascent in my cart, which used to be on Game Pass, and I never finished it. And I remember it being very pretty, and Ellery talks about it a lot, or used to a couple of weeks ago. So it's $8 now. It's going to be 60 in a couple of weeks or 40 or whatever. So I might as well buy that and add it to my Excel list of games that I need to play. But yeah, I think it's just a natural thing. And I hate that it eats at me so much because like every couple of days I'll be like, Kunitsugami, never played that at all. And it just like floats by, just as a drive by for my brain. But that's my reason.
I think it's because I have a weird fear of one day not being able to afford any games. So like I need as many as possible now. And as that's coming from me, like I don't buy games and put them in the backlog. Like my bought backlog is very like non-existent at this point. The games I've claimed for free in Epic Game Store, Amazon, like all these places, PS Plus, like I have hundreds of unplayed games. So like if it ever came a time where it's like I can't afford to buy the next console or I can't afford to buy the games right now, like I'm good. Like I got games to go me for years.
Yeah, I definitely have a lot of freebies and a lot of Game Pass games as well that I could definitely spend some time playing, but let's be real. Seasonal games. Halo Infinite's going to get another battle pass. Black Ops 6 season 2 is definitely on the way. So like, yeah, I'll see you in a couple of years. We'll keep this conversation going.
Taylor writes in, says, what is your favorite Xbox console form factor? I got to go with the One X.
Ooh, really good question. I think I'm going to be weird. And I think that I like the Series X the best out of all of the Xboxes. I like the pillar. I think that it looks unique, but it's not unique to the point of like, looking like a humidifier. Like it looks still like a console, but it's got some kind of like diversity to it. I think that in the second place, closely behind it, would be the original Xbox because the top is sick. It's got the cool logo on it, and the startup sound is nice. But in terms of like aesthetic, I would go with the Series X.
The 360.
Which one?
The original one, the white one.
Yeah, the red ring one.
Yeah, the red ring. The red ring as the aesthetic, if anything.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I love the 360. I think it could fit either way nicely. Like it's kind of reminds me of like the Series S is going for. Like you can just squeeze that into places. It just doesn't take up much room. I like the Series X. It's not like just a little big and honky for me though. That's how I feel about most of their like the VCR Xbox. Well, oh my god, what a monstrosity that thing was.
It was definitely a that was something right there. I also love the fact that you're like red ring on the Xbox 360, but you could fit it into really tight, warm places that like you just didn't have to have any space for it at all. You could just squeeze it into like a box almost.
I want it known my 360 never red ringed.
Yeah, I agree. I bought a Red Ring 360 that I thought I might be able to fix. Turns out I was 12, so can't do anything with that.
You know what I think this is? The 360 I bought never red ringed. My Xbox One power supply died. My Series X, I think the power supply has died. What is going on? All right, what is going on, Xbox?
You've not had good luck.
No, I haven't. All right, Alpaca Tom writes in, if you could do a full reboot on one active Xbox IP, Activision Blizzard, Bethesda, which one would benefit the most?
Oh man, that is a very tough question.
Can I point out he put active in there just so I couldn't say Banjo-Kazooie?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's fair. I was going to look at my first party game list here. Like I was just going to go on Xbox and see what stuff they had out. I mean, immediately because we've been talking about it, my mind goes to Halo because like I feel like it's time to kind of like push the reset button, which I know that's kind of what Infinite was meant to do. Push it again. Sometimes you got to power cycle twice, like my computer at the start of this podcast. Like you just got to kind of get through it twice. My snarky but also semi-serious answer, and I'm probably gonna get shit for this, would be Starfield. Like, I mean, I know that we're like a year out from it having come and gone, but like, I think really rethinking that and like putting it in a new engine and going back through what that Xbox experience really delivered on day one, I don't think it could be a bad idea. Like, I think there's a lot of potential there to make that a lot better of a game than it ended up being. And it's good. Don't get me wrong. Love Starfield. Big fan of Starfield. But it could be a whole lot more than it is right now.
I'm trying to think. This is a hard question because I feel like their active franchises like are either in a pretty good, apart from like Halo, are in a pretty good spot, or they're getting reboot. Like I would have loved to say Fable, but Fable's getting a reboot, right? Like Gears of do we count E-Day as a reboot? Like because I didn't love the direction of Gears 5. Like I was all I loved Gears until like I loved Gears 4, I loved Gears Tactics even. I wasn't a big fan of Gears 5, so like if E-Day is the reboot, then that's fine with me, but like I don't consider it a reboot right now. It's very much like it's like a side they're going on. Like we're going to explore this until we can figure out how to actually, make Gears 6.
Yeah, I would consider Gears E-Day kind of its own thing as well, but I do agree that it kind of has that function of a reboot of like, hey, we know you like Gears 5, but like what if we just went back to Marcus, and we just like had those good old days. So I would say that's accurate one.
Crash is active though. Like Crash doesn't need a reboot, just needs another game.
Yeah, I mean, you can't be like they've really lost track of the story. They've lost the plot with Crash.
I just don't get it, man. Like Spyro's getting a new game though. Like
yeah,
I don't know. This question's impossible for me.
Yeah, I think the narrative has really kind of gotten out of control with Forza Motorsport. They've really got to get that story back on track.
Forza Horizon, all right, doesn't make any sense. We're in one country, then we're in another country.
Yeah, how do we even do this? It's crazy.
Yeah, all right. Sorry, Tom. Like I don't know, buddy. I don't know. All right, last question. Brandon writes in, what are your pros and cons of having a controller that uses actual batteries versus a controller that comes with a pre-installed battery pack?
I mean, for me, I actually talked about this in a video that I put out last weekend, talking about 3 months with the Elite Series 2, which I picked up because they gave me a Deadpool controller holder. And I was like, you know what? Sure, take my money. Rob me right now for a 5-year-old controller. But I will say the benefits, depending on the controller, because the DualSense Edge has like absolutely horrible battery life from what I understand. But with the rechargeable battery on the Elite Series 2, it lasts for 40 hours. And I can confidently say, like, I get that out of this Elite Series 2. It's very impressive. With the flip side of that being, it shaves the price off the top of the controller if you don't have the rechargeable battery in it. That's why these Xbox One and Series S controllers can go for $30 to $40 on Black Friday. But beyond that, I like the ability to just swap out a double A battery pack and just have one that's constantly charged and just kind of do a little reload segment and boom, I'm ready to go. No awkward, like 6-foot long USB-C cable from the console to the couch. So that would be my answer. That's why I don't really mind the double A life as much as I used to back in the day.
I've had the same rechargeable battery pack since the Xbox One launch
Same.
week. Like
Same.
I bought that at GameStop, and they were like, "Oh, it won't fit in your Series X controller." That fits perfectly in my Series X controller. I don't know what they were lying to you about, but I've been using it. It's phenomenal. But it is one of those things. Like if it dies, I can always switch. I can put it in a different controller. Like I don't have that option with PlayStation. Like my DualSense dies, I have to plug it in or stop playing.
Yep. Yeah. And I think that I also have been using the same battery packs, not since launch day, but since I got an Xbox One, I guess so. Yeah, it was probably the One S. I picked up a One S. Ever since I got the One S, I've been using the same thing. And it was like $12 on
Yep,
Amazon.
that's
Like it
for
was
real.
like, I don't know what brand it is, but it's like some random Chinese like AA
Yeah.
battery pack thing. And I just keep it plugged into my Xbox and I swap them out. So they work great and they're the size of two AA batteries. So I'm good to
Yeah.
go.
I will say, if you can get a battery if you get an internal battery like the Switch Pro controller, I'd be okay with never having batteries again because that thing lasts 50 hours on one charge and never dies.
I'm telling you, you have an Elite Series 2?
I don't know.
That battery, I was very impressed. I said whenever I was walking through it, I was like, the only thing that's has a battery that's impressed me longer in recent memory is a pair of AirPods because I charge my AirPods like every 2 months. I feel like I never have to charge these things,
Hmm.
and the Elite Series 2 is just like it just keeps on going. It's the little Duracell bunny with Phil inside it. It's just ready to go. I start sentences and see where they take me. I don't know what I'm saying
Yeah,
anymore.
yeah, sometimes I talk and I don't know where's
Yeah,
it
I
gonna
just
go.
I just see where it goes.
All right. Well, that will do it for the listener questions this week. Thank you everyone for writing in and thanks for hanging out with us for this extra long episode. Phil Spencer's interview, obviously had to break that down. But Sam, until next week, where can people find you, my friend?
Yeah, you can find me at JamPackSam on YouTube, Threads, TikTok, Instagram, all those fun places. Got a thing I'm picking up this weekend, some exciting content on the way. And I've been working on something for the past couple of weeks that'll finally come out on Sunday. So exciting stuff there. But of course, you can always find me here chatting with you every Thursday normally. And excited to be back with minimal camera issues this week, which is a big benefit for you, I know.
Yes, absolutely. We will be back next Thursday, and then it's Thanksgiving, so Tuesday or Wednesday. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out that week, Thanksgiving. But you can find me at the Muffin Mon everywhere, social media. I'll make a blue sky probably at some point. We'll see what's
Ooh.
going on over there. And I'm just, what if it sucks? You know, what if it sucks?
They all do. It's
They
fine.
all suck. All
Yeah.
right, that's fine. You can find us at Save Game Media everywhere as well. Stay up to date with all our latest videos and content. Until next week, we will see you